Maybe you're like me and you just feel like you've said everything there is to say about the thing that you're talking about in your niche, in your industry. You have a finite number of good ideas for video content and you've done all of them. And now you feel like you're just kind of making the same video over and over again, or even just feeling bored with it. Maybe you feel like you're backed into a corner because your videos aren't performing as well as you want them to. But if you stray from that topic or that niche or do anything like a little different or something unusual, it performs even worse, right? Or maybe you feel like you've said everything there is to say, you've made every video there is to make in this niche that you're in, and you just don't know what to do next. You feel stuck despite the growth and the success that it has brought you. I have absolutely felt that way several times, many times here. And we're going to talk about what do you do? How do you push through that? And Delana, one of the YouTube strategists on my team, is here with me, and she's going to coach me through what I should do next. And I have some ideas for you too, but I want to hear how she's going to coach me through this. Ooh. And hopefully it'll be helpful for you guys as well.
Welcome to the Video Creators Podcast. We help YouTube creators grow their audience and business with next-level tactics and strategies. Want to accelerate your channel's momentum, be more profitable, and change the lives of more people than ever before? You're in the right place. The Video Creators team has over a decade of experience providing YouTube strategy for brands like Disney, Warner Brothers, HBO, and even YouTube themselves. So far, our team is responsible for helping clients generate over 17 billion views on YouTube. And now, to help you, here's Tim, Lennon, and Delana.
Delana, are you ready to help me out here?
Yeah, I'm ready. I do this for a living, so.
I do too, actually. Yeah. Before we jump into all this, how are you? What's going on in Delana's world?
It's been a little rough, not gonna lie. I saw a doctor. Now I have to get on a more strict diet than I've ever been on in my life, but it'll help me. It'll help me get better. So that's the only thing that matters. So yeah. And I won't have to be on it forever. It's just anywhere from 4 weeks to 6 months.
That's another thing you're going to have to help me out with, which is like, how do you stick to a diet? I'm not the yo-yo diet guy. I just am always trying to be consciously aware of what I eat, but never convicted enough to change it. I think about it, but don't do too much to do something different. So
yeah. Well, I don't know. You just got to want it. And I couldn't tell you. I honestly, if you want me to, for me, it was, I had to go to therapy and get past a lot of anxieties and depression in order to.
That's it.
Yeah. In order to want it, because you just don't.
It's so emotional. It's
so emotional.
Yeah, it's we can all just be honest here. And half the time I'm eating something, it's not because I'm hungry. It's because I'm trying to medicate something or soothe something or bored or something. There's some sort of emotional, whether it's anxiousness or something. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, we announced last time that Luke was bowing out as a strategist on our team. And very, very sad about Luke leaving, but we did hire a replacement for him. And so all of you guys—
Not that he's replaceable, but—
You're right. Absolutely. Yeah. You know what I mean? We hired someone to fill his shoes, as big as they are. I'm not sure what size he wears, but I'm sure they're big.
Yeah.
And
each other in person, so.
That's right. Yeah, I never asked him that. Yeah, so his name is Sam, and he's actually the husband of our producer, Stephanie. So that'll be great to have him coming on and working with us here. So, but it'll be a few weeks, and then he'll be going through lots of training, and then eventually you guys, I'm sure, will meet Sam. But just give you an update on, we got a new strategist on board, and looking forward to introducing him to you guys sometime soon. For this week's Creator Spotlight, I want to introduce you to a creator named David Walliman. He worked with us quite extensively, actually, went through Video Labs and then through the Action Plan. And one of the goals he had for his YouTube channel was to use it to grow his email list, because when his email list grows, then he sells more online courses. And so he went through Video Labs, Action Plan, worked with Ingrid on our team specifically to do that, and had tremendous results. When he started, he was doing about 10 email signups a day from his YouTube channel. And at the end, he was doing over 60 email signups a day from his YouTube channel. So Ingrid, one of the YouTube strategists here on our team, sat down with David to talk with him a little bit more about what that looks like and how he did it.
Today, I am talking with longtime creator from the YouTube channel, David Walliman. David has done the work over the years. He's consistently showed up and built a business of over 200,000. In addition to YouTube, he teaches electric guitar players and has a business around course sales. You'll hear him say this in his content: music is a language. And David helps his audience not just to learn how to play the notes, but how to truly express themselves on the guitar. David, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks, Ingrid. It's so nice to talk to you after a week off. It's great.
I know. We have recently been working closely together in the Action Plan, and you have experienced a lot of growth recently. But I would love for the audience to get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about how you got started on YouTube.
Sure. So my story with YouTube started a long time ago, probably about 12 years ago. At the time, I was a typical guitar teacher teaching neighborhood kids how to play guitar, and adults, and just one-on-one type of thing. And I felt that I was really stuck with, and I think that's a word that's going to come back in the conversation, stuck. I was kind of stuck in my teaching business, and I knew that I had to do something, because although I love teaching, I was getting really burned out with the hour-to-hour type of thing. And I thought, what if there was a way to teach what I do once to a lot of people? And at the time, there was this platform that kind of came out, YouTube. It was prior to YouTube being bought by Google and all that. And I thought, that could be a good way to do it. And that's kind of what got me started on the platform on YouTube 12 years ago.
Yeah, I love that. And you have really been, and you have videos that even predate that. If I look at your channel, they go back even further. Yeah, that's true. Before you really kind of established your business. So tell us a little bit about your business. No creator wants to talk about those.
Right. But yeah, we all do that. We look at the creators that have been there for a while, and we look at the very first ones, because it's always fun. The business at the core, it's always been about helping guitar players express themselves. Even at an early age, that's really what drew me to guitar and music as a language, as a story without words. I've always loved that. And the business has always been based on that, on helping guitar players express themselves. But today's business looks quite different from when I started on YouTube, because at the time, I really didn't know anything about online courses or even Skype lessons. That wasn't really anything then. But I thought, before even figuring out those pieces, what to sell, I knew it had to do with guitar, but I didn't quite know. I knew that I needed an audience. And that's kind of how I started YouTube. I'll just build an audience, and then I'll figure out the rest later on. So it started with the idea of a business, but it wasn't really defined until, it's still being defined today. It just kind of refines. But today, YouTube is used as a platform to help others and to bring in people into my system of emails and the website. And that's where I sell all my guitar courses. But who knows what it will look like, in a year. I don't know. And that's the fun part too.
Yeah. It is the fun part. And, because you've been on the platform for so long, and this happens to a lot of creators too, we start to experience some success, and that's great. And we kind of refocus our energies, but then we kind of run into some little roadblocks. So tell us a little bit about how that's changed on your channel. What have you come up against recently? And then what have you done to kind of overcome that?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's a recent roadblock. It's a roadblock that I encountered actually years ago, even before I knew what Video Creators was about. My channel, from the eyes of someone outside, it looked like, oh, he's doing great, he's growing and all that. But I knew the numbers, and I knew that my growth originally, the first 3 years, was really good, I thought, especially for new people on the platform. It is so new. And then it just kind of plateaued slowly grew to about, I don't know, maybe an average of 3,000-4,000 views per video, which is great, but that lasted for a long time, maybe 6-7 years. And I guess the roadblock was that YouTube has changed so much in terms of, and for the better. Like, YouTube understood more what people want to watch, and the suggestions of what you're going to watch next is very, very good compared to the early days. But I didn't really understand that for a long time until I met you guys. But I think that's really the roadblock. I kind of got stuck in my habits, and with that came a little bit of loss of passion. It was kind of okay, well, I've got to do my 2, sometimes 3 videos a week. If not, then that's part of my job. I just do it, but I don't really know why I do it. I was just kind of doing things out of habit without putting much thought to it. And that was the long stretch of time where I felt really stuck. So that was the main roadblock that I had.
Yeah. And you talk about, habits, and YouTube kind of becomes a grind, I think, for a lot of creators. And that can start to become frustrating, especially, it's not like you're not seeing results. You're seeing results, but you're maybe seeing, colleagues and friends even pass you by, which I know that you yourself had experienced. And that really can start to play on you emotionally, and you feel like you're doing something wrong. So I know that you worked with us with consultations with both Tim and Delana over the years. And then you even took video labs with us.
I did.
A couple of years ago with Delana as well. And just recently spent 3 months with me in the action plan. And we really kind of dug in and really honed in on, things like who your audience really was and connecting with them on a deeper level. But I think for you, just in really what I saw and what you have even told me, is really getting clarity around the 3 bucket strategy.
Yeah.
And as you know, is so important when it comes to creators who have a business off the platform. So tell me a little bit about how, you've been able to implement that and what kind of results you've seen because of that.
Yeah. So that's been a massive thing. And I'm just at the beginning, I think. But so those 3 buckets: discovery videos, community videos, and sales videos. Although I kind of understood the concept, I'll hone in on one of those, the sales videos. So the sales videos being a video that is meant to send people off YouTube, off the platform, whether it's to sell something or sign up to a free course or whatever it is. All my videos were sales videos prior to working with this bucket strategy. They were also discovery videos, but they were kind of a mix of different types of videos. But the main thing is that all my videos were sales videos, because in my mind, I thought, well, the more videos send people to my free course, and then they will transition hopefully to buying something, that's the better. And for years, that's what I was doing. I think for at least 4 years, ever since I started having this system of offering a free course and then trying to convert them, that's what I've done. And so at the least 2 videos per week, we're sending people off of YouTube. But they were also doing something else. They were also suggesting another video. So there were more than one action. That was the first mistake, because I found that if you give them people choices, they will end up, not really doing anything. Mistake number 1. But then we had talked, and Tim and Delana told me that in the consultations. I learned about that in video labs, about not sending people off YouTube with every video, because if you do so, then YouTube is not really going to push your videos to a new audience, because YouTube wants people to stay on the platform.
Right.
But that was I understood that as far as a growth perspective, but I didn't really understand how that would translate into my business, because I still need people to go off of YouTube to sell my stuff. And I knew that from the start, my plan wasn't really to make a living with YouTube ads. So I needed to bring people off. But then we had several conversations, and I thought about it quite a bit. And I thought, well, if all my videos are averaging maybe 4,000 views, and that was a good number for me. And out of all these videos, X% goes to my lead magnet to download something. Well, my videos have been at 4,000 views for years now. So that's basically all I'm going to get. At the best, I'm going to get, if I do 2 videos a week, 2 times 4, 8 videos, time 4,000 people who watch, times X% who download the thing. That's that number, and that's going to be the average. But then you made me realize that if I do most of my content as a discovery video, which the purpose of that is for people to stay on YouTube, YouTube is going to take that as a signal saying that, oh, David's videos are really helping people stay on our platform. We like that. So we're going to push that to a new audience, which makes the whole channel grow, which makes my average video view grow to an exponential number, hopefully, because it's YouTube and millions of users on the platform. So that I started to understand that. But I thought, that's going to take a few years to get to that, but it's okay. I'm in it for the long run. And I started implementing this 3-bucket strategy: discovery, community, sales. And if I do 8 videos a month, I'm trying to do 25% that are sales videos, but only sales video. The only purpose is to send people to that thing.
Yes.
And I shared those numbers with you. I just looked at the graph. Last month, I think, was the first full month where really I implemented that. And I had just 1 sales video. And I was getting about 20 new subscribers per day with a previous no bucket strategy. And then I looked, and I at least tripled that number with just 1 video. Just 1 video, and the whole channel is growing. And so it works, and it's just the beginning of the thing.
And that is just crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's, to reduce the sales call to actions from 8 to 1.
Yeah.
And to more than, and I saw your graphs, more than triple what your numbers are on a daily basis. Bringing them into not just your channel has lifted overall, because as you said, you have discoverable content, which we know those are those lead magnets, right? That bring people into the top of the funnel.
Yeah.
And then you do community videos, which help grow the know, like, and trust factor, really getting them to connect with you on a deeper level, and you're engaging them, which gets them to come back and helps you raise those averages. And by the way, he has more than doubled his average per video, with several going really far. So it's really working for you. But then when you do that intentional sales video, you have so many more people to sell to, because without bringing in new people, you're selling, as you know, to the same number of people.
Exactly.
So,
there's one added bonus to that I'm discovering now, that I am not a salesman. I love teaching. I really love helping people. Yeah. The sales thing is just a necessity to pay the bills and allow me to help other people. And I really didn't like pitching a thing in every single video. Now I just have to do it once. But not only that particular video, because of everything I learned, is not just a sales pitch. It's also meant to help people, and it's a natural transition for them to download that free thing, which will help them even further. So it's changed the whole thing from selling something and business minded, which I really didn't like, to helping people, and the rest just kind of flows naturally in the back end.
And that's awesome, because what I'm hearing from you is you feel, and I've heard you say this actually to me directly, is you're enjoying YouTube again.
Yeah.
You know, you don't feel like you're in the grind anymore, and you haven't really reduced the amount of content that you put out. Actually, you're starting to add new things,
Yeah.
Coming soon, shorts and things like that to your channel. And it's exciting for me to see you be more lighter about this all. You're getting more results. You're getting people into your funnel, which helps you to sell and helps you to not just reach more people, but also change their lives.
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So that's amazing. So I really just want to thank you for joining me here today. It was an absolute joy to work with you so closely, to be your little expert in your pocket there for 3 months.
You always will be.
And to really just see you flourish has just been an absolute joy.
Thanks for everything, Ingrid.
Thank you. Just like David, learning how to course correct and spot opportunities for growth can be instrumental on YouTube because it can lead to your business. Having a strategist get a fresh perspective on your content and channel can save you not just frustration and time by helping you identify the correct path for you personally, but it can help you with feeling confident with your YouTube strategy. We'd love to work with you directly one-on-one in a consultation. You can find out more at videocreators.com/YouTube-certified-consult. You can also click the link in the description.
All right, Delana, ready to help me out here?
I'm ready.
It's going to be like a YouTube therapy session.
I was about to say, am I going to be the YouTube therapist here for a moment?
You're the YouTube therapist. I am going to be the patient, I guess.
The YouTube patient.
That's right. Yeah. And we'll go back and forth on some of these things. I have a couple ideas as well. But I'd love to know how you have handled this, because I know when you're not an active creator yourself on your personal channel now, but I know when you were an active creator, this is something that you dealt with. And so tell us a little bit about your story, because I don't think you need to be a creator for too long to get to that spot where you're like, now what? Like, what do I make next? So how did you handle that when you bumped into that on your channels?
I stopped making content.
Well, so did I. Okay, good. We're in the same boat.
Well, for me, though, it was a little bit of a different story. Although I do think that sometimes that is really, really important, is that if you're just trying to force a square peg into a round hole because you're just in a rut, sometimes that rut is there because you just got to take a breather, But for me, it was a little bit more... I came to a point where I felt like I was struggling with my creativity so much, and I was always struggling to come up with content ideas because my heart just wasn't in it anymore. Like I found that I was chasing something that didn't feel like me anymore. And so it was, the way that I describe it, it was like I grew out. It's like I grew up and I need to put on different clothes, and I kept trying to wear the same clothes. So, yeah, that was it for me, which is why I decided to walk away from my channel a while back. But
that was a hard decision for you too, if I remember.
It was very emotional. It was very, very emotional. I cried many times because it was something that felt so personal to me for a long time. But for me, I had a lot of deep emotional connection to it because I grew up pretty and not an exciting childhood. And so I put a lot of stock in that. I was like, this is like my beacon of hope. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And whenever that became not my beacon of hope anymore, it was really hard for me to let go, because through me pursuing that, it opened up obviously other opportunities in my life and other passions of mine that I was able to pursue because of the skills that I built while creating content. And so yeah, I was like, okay, my journey with this is turning out different than I thought it was going to be. And this doesn't have to be my beacon of hope. And that was like, I had to let go of that and let myself have joy in what it turned out to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I have certainly felt like I'm in that spot of, and I think in our next episode, we'll talk a little bit more about my story about taking a break as well, because there's some personal things in that. But for this episode, I have certainly felt like I have been making the same videos over and over again. I don't know how many times I have made videos about target audience, value proposition, some titles and thumbnails. Like, how many more things are there to say about that? Content strategy and analytics. And I'm like, honestly, actually, I counted it up a couple months ago. I had done over 4,500 videos across 9 different channels.
Oh my
Not all of them were like
gosh.
YouTube strategy channels, but started off my first main real channel I was a part of was, I didn't own it. I was contracted to make content for Real SEO, REEL SEO back in the day. And and so I'm kind of like, what? How else do I say that? And it's worse when the YouTube comments are like, I feel like you're just saying the same thing. This is what YouTube people sound like. I feel like you're just saying the same thing over and over again. Like, I feel like, and I'm like, you're not wrong. Actually, you're like kind of right. So a couple things for me and that have been helpful for me, and maybe this for some of you guys feel like you're in that same boat. This will be helpful too. For me, it came. I have first had this idea that I couldn't say the same thing twice. And I kind of forgot that like not everyone watches every single video or listens to every single podcast episode. And just because so that was one thing. Like, not just because I said it once doesn't mean I can't ever say it again. Now, if it's like the only thing I talked about ever, then maybe. But even there's like some sort of level, like the only thing I talk about ever is YouTube, right? So on one hand, I'm like, yeah, I am kind of making the same, but there's so much to talk about in there. And then even in target audience and value proposition, there's so much to talk about in each of those things too, where people on the surface feel like, I've heard it. Okay, move on. I'm like, no, you haven't heard it yet. I don't know why I say it with that kind of attitude, but like, because, all right, this is going to be a therapy session for sure. Yeah, something's coming up in me like, back off, guys. You haven't heard this before. So one that like not everyone it's okay to say some things twice. But then the other thing, the part of that for me that I've heard also in YouTube comments are people saying like, I've heard you talk about this so many times, but for some reason I finally get it. How many times have you been in a YouTube consultation, Delana, and you're explaining something and like they know this, but then as you work through it with them, they're like, oh, yeah, now I get it. There's a difference between having knowledge of something and actually like using the tool properly and from a strategy perspective. So anything come up for you with regard to that when you're working with creators and clients and they're like, I don't know, can I say the same thing twice?
I think it's really, really important to say the same thing over and over and over again.
How many times though?
I think relatively indefinitely. I do think that there's like, if to your point, if that's like all the content that you're making, then and you're never bringing in completely different points, there's a difference between attacking the same point or the same information in different ways from different angles and then having a different subject completely, right? And so I do think it's important to have different subjects outside of that one that pad the in-between of whenever you're making the same one over and over again. But whenever it's something so important, I think that I've had so many, especially working in the action plan, where I'm working long term with clients, often anywhere from 3 months to, I think I have one client who I've been working with for 1.5 years, and it is, I have said this, found myself saying the same thing to them again and again, but until it clicks, and I'll keep coming at it from different angles. If every time I talk about it, they have a counterpoint or something like that, then we'll keep coming at it from different angles until it makes sense for them. And they're like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. And one thing that I have realized is that most creators, and this is just not a creator thing, really, I think it's just a human thing, is that they're really only going to have anywhere from 1 to 2 light bulb moments, like whenever you talk with them. And I think it's the same thing whenever you make content. So let's just say that you talk about target audience and value proposition in one video. I think that they're most of the time going to come out of that video with one light bulb moment. Let's say that one light bulb moment is about their target audience. Okay. Not usually about, I think 1 to 2, sometimes 3 is like a rarity if they come out with 3 light bulb moments, but I notice it's usually one primary light bulb moment, which is why I think that you can continue to make content over and over again, because then next time you make a video about target audience and value proposition, their light bulb moment is going to be about the value proposition rather than the target audience. Because once they have that light bulb moment, they're kind of like simmering on that.
Oh,
they're simmering on that for a while, and all of the other information that doesn't go along with that one light bulb moment that they just had usually doesn't stick as well until the next video. They've simmered on that for a while, and they come back and watch another video about target audience value proposition, and then they can have another light bulb moment. So I think most of the time in most meetings, it's like 1 to 2 light bulb moments, depending on how long the meeting is. The longer it is, the more light bulb moments there are.
Yeah. People can only take so many light bulb moments before they're like, whew, okay.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is why I think that you can, because even within a target audience and value proposition video, there's so many layers to that, right? And there's so many different light bulb moments that they can have just about those 2 things. And so the more that you talk about it, the more that you're giving them the opportunity to understand all angles of it. So yeah, that's.
Yep. Well, cool. Another thing I was thinking for myself here, and I'll give you my idea, then you tell me as my YouTube therapist if this is what I should be doing. I think, you know what? It's okay to take a break. Like,
Yeah,
I
totally.
don't have to create content over and over and over and over again just for the sake of making another video. I remember when I felt trapped in that, where I had this posting schedule. It was like I forget what it was, but Monday, Tuesday. No, it was Tuesday, Thursday. That's what it was. And twice a week, I'm like, okay, I have to get it. And it got to the point, I'm like, I wouldn't normally publish this. I don't feel proud of this, but I just got to get something out because it's Thursday and I said I'd have something out on Thursday. And I do think there was a time in YouTube land where that was a thing, but people don't browse YouTube that way anymore. That was like, 6, 8 years ago when that was more important. The posting schedule just doesn't feel as important. I think it's a good thing to have, but it doesn't feel as necessary now because people don't browse YouTube the way they do television, which is where you have to sit down in front of the medium at a certain time in order to catch up on your favorite show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and people don't even really watch YouTube or television that way as much anymore either now.
Yep.
So it's more on demand, what's in front of me when I'm in the mood to watch something.
Mm-hmm.
And so the posting schedule, I don't feel like is as important, but yeah, just giving myself the freedom, take a break. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's one of the most important things if you're really in either a creative rut or you're having trouble seeing anything outside of what you normally do. I think that that's a good time to take a break and just kind of let yourself refocus, reset your lens. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Hold down the shutter halfway.
Yeah, right. That's a good way to put it.
YouTuber jokes. That should be a thing. Another thing I was thinking for myself, and I'm thinking back now to when I was getting started on YouTube, because I remember the first time I felt this. I felt this multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I got started, I was really excited making videos. My very first YouTube advice type thing, it was 2011, I believe. And I was inspired by a creator named Philip DeFranco, who is still an active creator on the platform. He's got 4, 6, 8 million subscribers, something like that. I haven't watched him as much for a while. But he was my inspiration at that time. And so I was like, oh, I love what he's doing. I'm going to go do something like that. But instead of it being about news and global world news stuff, I'm going to make it about what's happening news in the YouTube industry. And so I did that for a few years. But then I was like, kind of started feeling old, started getting bored, felt like I was saying the same thing again. I needed new inspiration. And so I started watching different creators, and I'm actually doing that again now in this season of my channel, where as I'm getting back into making content again, that I'm forcing myself to watch a wide variety of channels I don't normally watch, which is a little bit hard because YouTube's recommendations are so good at keeping me in the thing I really want to keep watching.
Yep.
But I have to, go out and like watch the food channel I've never watched before, watch the mountain biking channel I haven't watched before, and things like that. So finding new sources of inspiration has kind of helped me break out of my narrow mindset and see things differently by watching channels I wouldn't ever have watched before. So on the right track there?
Yeah, that's actually something that I challenge creators to do sometimes, which is like, hey, if you're just feeling super creatively like, I don't really know what to do, I need to change things up because I, as a creator, am getting tired. Let's say, because a lot of times creators will talk about like, oh, I'm worried that my audience is getting bored. But 9 times out of 10, whenever they say that, it's usually just them getting bored and not their audience getting bored. Yeah. Because they know that if they make a video on a particular subject that always performs well on their channel, then it's not their audience that's getting bored because they're responding to that, right? It's the creator that's getting tired of making what they typically make. And so I always think that a great idea, something to pursue is to like, okay, take something that's somebody who creates content wildly differently from how you do it and then challenge yourself to do it the same way, but within the context of what you do. Yeah. I think that that's even a super fun challenge for creators who just need a creative boost.
Yep. Yeah. A fourth thing I wrote down for myself, and this is advice I gave like almost a decade ago. And I actually haven't really given this advice again until just today. But it came up for me again. And I think I don't give it often because it's challenging. It's hard to know how to do this, but it's to create, and you might like this, Elena, create a system that generates ideas for you instead of always having to start from scratch every time and starting like, now what am I going to talk about? Because if you just sit down at a blank page and be like, now what am I going to talk about? It's really hard to come up with a good idea. Yep. But if you have a system that generates ideas for you, for example, I realized I just didn't finish that last sentence. If you have, I do that to myself all the time. I notice Casey Neistat does that too. He just starts talking and know where the rest of it's going to go. So he doesn't even bother to fill it in. He just switches to the next thought, So
see, I do that, but I leave it at the point where like people don't know what I was going to say. And so I just have a bunch of half sentences.
Did you know what I was going to say?
I catch myself all the time and I'm like, finish that thought. I'm like, I know. And I make myself go back and finish the thought. But
when your head moves faster.
I thought that you were done. So maybe I did finish the thought for you.
No, I was going to say, so one example for me would be like keeping up with industry news. So I still use RSS. I know it's an old school thing, but use Feedly and keep up with over 1,000 different publications that write about industry news, not just YouTube, but search on Google as well, because sometimes there's things we can learn there. And so I will just I'll skim through. I don't read them all, but whenever I like need some new ideas, I'll skim through those and be like, oh, okay, here's something new to talk about. Here's a new idea. I had that. That'll usually jog something for me. Another system might be, if you're getting a lot of YouTube comments, is to screenshot those YouTube comments and make content that are responding to those questions or that are reacting to the follow-ups or the additional advice someone's giving or something. Like those are just 2 ideas. They don't have to be in either one of those, but you could create a system. Another system could be like when you have the moment of inspiration, have a thing on your phone where you quickly just write out some ideas. I do that with my personal podcast called the Business Family Marriage Podcast with Tim Schmoyer, of course, where like I don't always have ideas there. But when I do, I'm like, oh, that's a good one. And so I have a thing on my phone where I just quickly jot down that idea. And then when I'm like, okay, I got some time to kill here, which doesn't happen very often. And I have like, it's usually like, I just want to make another episode talking about business, family, marriage, and the intersection of all those 3 things together. Then I just go and look at that list. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to talk about that one. And then I'll just talk about that. So Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Do you have any other ideas for systems that generate content ideas?
Yes, I think that it's super, super important because we talk about the certain buckets of like discoverable community and sales content here throughout all of our content. We talk about the difference between those. But I think within each of those, you should also have buckets that are kind of like either certain styles of how you like to create your content or how you want to create your content. So maybe it's like a reaction video or a news, like what you said, a news style reporting on the news or whatever it may be. So it can either be styles of content that you can just go through and see like, which one do I feel like doing right now? Do I feel like creating a story? Do I feel like reporting on news? Do I feel like challenging myself to create something totally new that I've never done before? Or having buckets that are like topics or pain points that your audience struggles with. So, like you said, questions that they always have, or even if you go through your target audience worksheet, like what's a pain point of theirs that I could address and help them move forward on, just not anything that you can do to not start on a blank page. But I think having topic buckets within like the discoverable community and sales strategy buckets is super, super important to just get started and not stare at a blank page.
Yeah. You said something in there kind of in passing, but I want to point it out because I think it's totally right, which is just say the same thing, but with a different style. Feels like a totally different video and gives new sources, a new inspiration. So I did that. And I don't think the video is published yet as of this recording, but I did my first whiteboard video. I hadn't done a whiteboard video.
I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, you did see it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I've seen it, but I saw a clip of I saw a still.
Oh, you saw a Facebook ad of it, I think maybe because I did.
Oh, maybe
We're trying ads, guys, for the past few months here. But
yeah,
I have a whole video that's coming out that's just like a whiteboard. I'm like, okay, let's try that. But you could try let's go do a walk and talk. Let's do a vlog. Let's do animation and pour some money. Actually, a little hack for animation. I have been surprised how many creators are doing what looks like really amazing, high quality, professional animation with just Keynote, the presentation software for Mac.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's like what, $40 or $39 or something like that. And it's what I use all my presentations, but there's a lot of really good custom animations built into that that you can make it look, and you just talk voiceover and click through your animations and boom, it's done.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, okay, a little hack there for you guys. I should have saved that for my power tip, but I got it for you guys. Anyway, yeah, new styles. And then the final thing that I wrote down, and this is like my best, this is the one that's made the biggest difference for me. And you know how they have you won't believe number 5. I should have done that with this at the beginning, because this really is the one that's made the biggest difference for me. And I feel like I'm going to repeat myself again here in the sense of we've already talked about this so much, but it's really true for me is getting to know your target audience better. The more intimately you know who it is you're talking to, and not just demographics, but their story, the easier it is to come up with ideas for that person. So we do a survey, and this episode right now is actually based on us getting to know you guys better. So if you guys have been around for a little while, you know that usually at the beginning of each year, we run a survey with you guys, and we're just like, hey, I shouldn't say you guys because it's the Pod Squad now, in case you didn't get the memo.
Ooh, I did not get the memo. Wow.
Yeah. I think we're getting close to making it official. But the Pod Squad though, we surveyed you guys and you Pod Squad, sorry, I can't stop. And at the beginning of each year, we're like, just fill out the survey, give us some info. And that survey, which I'll give to you guys for free here, because it's not just the questions we ask, it's the psychology behind the questions that we're asking and how we get to read in between the lines, so to speak. And hear what you guys are all describing. I can't stop as your like actual problem and how you describe it. And so I have it right in front of me, the survey results from 2022. We've broken it down to between people, and in our case, broken it down people who have 0 to 1,000 subscribers, 1,000 to 10,000 subscribers, 10,000 to 100,000, 100,000 to 1 million, like based on their subscriber level. And it's pretty shocking. Yeah, shocking. It's very clear how different the questions are and the problems are that people are asking and describing when they're in that like 0 to 1,000 and even 10,000 subscriber range. But at around the 10,000 subscriber range, it changes pretty drastically. And the 10,000 to like 1 million subscriber people are asking almost completely different questions and very different problems that they're trying to solve. And so when we survey the audience here every year, we get tons of ideas, lots of ideas, including this very podcast episode, from the things that most people are saying, like, this is the problem, this is the struggle, this is my goals, that type of thing. So I'll put a link in the show notes for any of you guys who are interested in getting those questions, the exact outline that we used, as well as some behind the scenes of like, here's what these questions are asking, and here's how you can read between the lines of what we're really asking, but we're asking it this way because we'll get the information this other way instead. I'll give you all that. It's in a PDF, a little guide I wrote called Product to Profit. And that little thing is all about how do you make sure that the product you're creating is aligned with what your audience actually wants to buy from you, so you don't make a product or launch a course or a Patreon or whatever the thing might be, and only to get crickets on it afterwards. I've made that mistake a few times. So that will walk you through the exact process we use to make sure that doesn't happen, but has also got that survey in there that you guys can run with your audience as well. So getting to know your target audience better, I think, has given us tons of ideas and helped us actually make better content too that is more aligned with our audience wants. And the other thing that comes out of that, Delana, is that every time we run it, even though we literally, like last year, I forget the exact number was, it was like 630 clients we worked with last year. Even though we're like constantly talking to creators and working with them every single week, I'm still always surprised by what comes out of that. I'm like, like this is something we haven't heard. Like, it's just something about running that with hundreds of people. And if you don't have hundreds, you can still run it even with tens of people. That is still something comes out like, I did not see it. And the responses are different every year. It's not like they're static and we're kind of getting the same thing all the time. So that has really helped us generate a lot of different ideas or talk about the same things in different ways and things like that too. So yeah, all the links to this stuff are in the show notes. You guys can go check it out in terms of the Product to Profit and other things here too. Every week we wrap up with a power tip, something you can go do right now on your channel. And this week's power tip is more of a thing for you while you're browsing YouTube as a consumer. And I don't know if you were familiar with this or not, Delana. I just learned this recently, that you know how you can double tap while watching YouTube on mobile, and you can like skip forward, skip backwards, things. But do you know what happens if you tap with 2 fingers instead of 1?
Skips to the next video. Skips forward a minute.
It skips forward 10 seconds. Or if there's chapters embedded in like chapter settings, it'll just skip to the next chapter.
Oh, that's cool.
I know. Isn't that like, oh, awesome. Like that's great. So yeah, single tap just to kind of skip forward 5 seconds, 10 seconds, but double tap will skip forward 10 seconds if there are chapter settings, boom, right to the next chapter. So there you go. Help you guys navigate YouTube a lot easier and faster there. You're welcome. If you watch as much YouTube as we do, then little things like that make a difference. So thank you guys for being here. Looking forward to hanging out with you again next week for another Video Creators Podcast episode, and we'll see you guys then.